Hey, JC here for Retire Cheap JC. So, you've probably by now heard that somebody who wants to get an OA visa for the purpose of retirement in their home country will need to have mandatory insurance coverage. I want to talk about that for a second. Okay, so, yes, it's been in the news. I've been inundated with questions, and I'm going to try and give you as many answers as I can at this point. As per usual, there's a lot of ambiguity in the requirements and in the written regulations. So, let's talk about what we know and what we don't know. So what we do know at this point is this only applies for the time being. Who knows whether that'll change or not. If you're applying for an OA visa for the purpose of retirement in your home country. If you come to Thailand and you get a non-immigrant visa and you want to extend it for 1 year based on fulfilling the requirements for retirement, the insurance mandate isn't in effect. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. But at this point, we're happy, right? It doesn't affect people with marriage, doesn't affect people who are over here and getting an extension. Okay, that's what we know. From what I've been told by insurance companies is that even though the website says you're supposed to have the insurance from a specific website and the companies on them that have been approved, if you have an existing coverage or existing policy back home, you can use that to apply. And they actually have a form that you fill out the information about your insurance policy. And you submit that when you get your OA. And when you give your OA application, you'll give them that information about your insurance as well. Okay. That's where the knowns basically end, because in the regulations it actually says when you go for your renewal, well, there is no renewal of an OA visa, but it says when you go for a renewal, you're going to have the insurance from a Thai company. Those kinds of visas, they expire. You can't add to them. Now you'd be able to, once you're in Thailand, to actually change it into a non-immigrant with a 1-year extension based on retirement. So we're not sure at this point, are they actually saying that when you went to, the year was up for your OA and now you're in Thailand, you want to get it, you're also going to have to comply to the insurance regulation, but you're no longer going to be able to use your insurance from back home. We don't know. That's the way it's implied at this point. Now, the website that they give those insurance companies were originally set up for OX visas, and that's a 10-year, a 5-year, plus a 5-year, because that visa, it was required to have insurance. And so they set that up with the companies that could comply to the insurance requirements. But they're saying now that if you already have insurance and the minimum is 40,000, the equivalent of 40,000 baht outpatient coverage and 400,000 baht inpatient coverage, you'd be able to use that insurance policy. If you didn't have one, then you could get one from some of the listed companies on the website. Okay, now Pacific Cross, the company that I use, is on there, and any of their policies that comply to the minimum requirements will now be accepted. Okay, And you can get that, I don't know about all the other companies, but you can get that from Pacific Cross if your plans are to be in the country within 6 months. You'd be able to take out a policy with Pacific Cross to be able to use to comply to the insurance requirement. Okay, that's what we know. So now a lot more ambiguity, because if you're coming over to Thailand and you got this OA visa, if it's multiple entry, you can come and go as you please. And every time you return back into the country after you leave, you get another 1 year. But in the regulations, it's written that your visa, the allowance to stay, the permission to stay amount, is based upon your insurance policy and the expiration of it. So what does that mean? That means if you got the insurance policy for 1 year, and you got your visa for 1 year, and you came over to Thailand, if you waited 1 month, your insurance is going to lapse 11 months after you arrive in Thailand. Does that make sense? Think about this. You've already used up 1 month of your insurance because you got it on a specific date. Unless you told them for the insurance to go in on the date you're going to arrive in Thailand, then 1 month of your policy is already gone. So when you arrive in Thailand, they would normally, in the past, give you 12 months. But because you only have 11 months worth of insurance, they have the right to only give you 11 months. Now, each subsequent time that you go out and come back in, guess what? Your insurance policy is getting smaller and smaller in time, and the regulations are written. It now says that you'd only be able to stay for as long as you had insurance, which they don't. I've never seen a policy that's written for more than 1 year at a time. One of the strategies that I've always recommended and other people have used is right before that OA is up to leave and come back in, you can get another year. But that wouldn't be the case if this is correct and what that regulation is stating. You couldn't do that because you wouldn't have insurance when you arrive back in. And the way it's perceived or written out in these regulations is that this is up to the immigration officer when you're arriving in the country to check this. Now, are they going to check it or not? I don't know. But that's what it's written. So the second time when you go out and you want to get your second year, you'd have to actually renew a policy ahead of time, giving you another year. And so that you would be able to come in and get a year based on how much insurance. And they say you're limited to 1 year because even if you had an insurance policy that was good for 5 years or something, they're not going to grant you more than 1 year, but they would grant you less than 1 year based on the coverage of your policy, only for as good as your policy, the time that it is good for. So these are the things that I wish I could answer. There needs to be clarification. If you watched any of my videos about this before, I said this isn't ever going to go into effect. It's too complicated. They still haven't addressed, okay, what happens if somebody wants to get an OA visa? They apply in their home country and they want to get insurance. And let's say they're 75 years old and the insurance is going to be too expensive for that age. They wouldn't even be able to get it if they could even get it at that age. It'd be so expensive. So those people can't come retire in Thailand? That's a question. It's not rhetorical, okay? And what happens if somebody has had cancer or heart disease or something, and then the insurance company say, well, you have pre-existing illnesses. Either the policy is going to be real expensive, or we're not going to cover you, or we won't cover you for those existing illnesses. These are some of the other complications with this whole scheme. To me, none of it is making sense. Many times, and this happens with the TM30, this happens with a lot of things, they're very short-sighted in what the regulations, because they passed a new law about this. They could have gone back in and passed any laws, rescinding the TM30. They could have done so much to make our lives easier over here. This has just made it more complicated with more questions. I'm going to do a video for the government and for immigration regarding the TM30, the insurance requirements, all this stuff, because to me, they're not thinking. We want to come over and we want to retire. We want things to be easier, right? Retirement is not supposed to be about a hassle and spending lots of money. We can do that back home. when you get retirement age, you want things to be easy, and they're making it more complicated. And they're not realizing the flood of people that are leaving families in some cases, to go live in another country based upon all these hoops that we have to jump through. And so I understand how viewers are reading this as, they don't want us to be here anymore. And if that's the case, they need to just tell us, right? Many other options, I've said, there's always an option. And I'll help people to go to Vietnam or Cambodia or Philippines or anywhere they want to. But I would love for them to come live in Thailand because there's so many upsides here. I love the people, I love the culture, I love everything about Thailand except for these immigration requirements. And the reason I don't like them is I don't have to worry about the OA, I have the money in the bank. But I have to jump through the same hoops after being here 18 years on the same visa as somebody that comes over for the first time. There's no flexibility in there. There's flexibility in whether you're wearing a helmet or not, whether you go down the wrong side of the road, all these things, there's flexibility, but there's no flexibility in this issue, which affects the foreigners. And the foreigners that are living here, as you know, y'all spend 10 times more than the average Thai person on a monthly basis. And it feels to us, and I'll include myself in it, that we're not taken care of or we're not appreciated. And this is why I want to do a video for the immigration or for the government to let's pay attention to some of these things and how we feel, whether they want to change it or not. It's totally up to them. But they need a different perspective. And so maybe I'll be the one to give it to them, maybe I won't. But anyway, I wanted to address what I know. To recap, if you're getting your OA back in your home country, you can use an existing policy for the first time. If you're over here, it appears that when you go to get an extension, they're going to call it a renewal, but it isn't a renewal. You get an extension, in other words, the second time, and you're within Thailand, or you could go home and rinse and repeat and do the same process again. And I'm not sure then if the second time back home you would have to have a Thai policy or you'd still be able to use your existing policy. None of that's clear. But it appears that if you come over to Thailand and you're living here and you don't want to go back home for another OA and you want to get a non-immigrant visa with a one-year extension, that you would have to have it from a Thai company at that point. Okay? And it appears that your permitted time to stay in Thailand is going to be based not on it's a one-year extension or a one-year visa, but for how long your policy is good for. And so these all need to be addressed. I wish I could give you definitive answers about that issue, but note that you are going to have the insurance when you get the OA, and when you enter the country, the regulations stating the immigration officer, it's not saying the embassy or the consulate staff, the immigration officer is at their discretion how long you're going to stay based upon your coverage of insurance. So this is another one of those, bam, shooting themselves in the foot, But hey, what can I say? TIT, this is Thailand. So as we go forward, I usually don't do videos that much about this kind of stuff because it isn't why I'm here. It isn't why I live in Thailand. I live in Thailand because the people are great. Relationships are great. The cost of living is great. Just, there's so much great things about the country. The only downside here is the immigration policies. You all know that if Thai people go to our countries, they can become citizens. They got a lot more rights, and they don't have to be tracked like somebody that's a criminal. And I understand all that. And I'm not happy about it either, because I have to face all these people that I'm trying to help to come live in Thailand and answer these questions and try and understand the intention behind these policies and these requirements. So anyway, I just wanted to reach out to you all and give you information about what I know and what I don't know and what needs to be answered at this point. If I get answers to these, I'll be sure to pass them on to you all. If you have any other questions or comments or anything, you can put them down in the comments section, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Remember, when it comes to where to live in your retirement, there's always an option. See you, JC out. Hey, JC here. My goal is always to help you get from where you are now to where you want to be, which is probably a life in Thailand. And I know a lot of questions come up about all sorts of things regarding insurance and vehicles, transportation, housing, relationships, getting licenses, all that stuff. And I want to help you by answering as many questions as I can. And if I can't answer them, then I'll reach out to you personally. But I'm going to leave a link in the description to where you can click on that and be able to tell me what it is that you're interested in and what kind of information, and I'll be able to try and answer it, because I'm probably not going to be able to answer it within the YouTube comments anymore because of time constraints. It's just getting to be too much of a task to go through all the comments. So if you have a question, direct it to me. There'll be a link in the description, and I'll be back in touch with you to try and get as much relevant information to you as I can. Remember, when it comes to getting the information you need about retiring in Thailand, there's always an option. See you, JC out. Hey, JC here. If you like that video, make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel here. Also, we have another video up here you're going to be really interested in watching as well. And if you're looking for all the details of how to retire in Thailand in one place, plus a group of people to support you, check this out over here. Give it a click.